Hey, I'm Matt Lownes here at LTV, and this is Ask The Supervisor. Today is Monday, September 12th, and I am, of course, joined by East Hampton Town Supervisor Peter Van Scoyoc. Peter, how you doing? How's your weekend?
I'm well, Matt. It's a great weekend. Saturday, I got out to Montauk for the Seafood Festival, the Montauk Seafood Festival, hosted by the Friends of Erin and the Rotary, the Kiwanis Club, excuse me. That was a very well attended festival. Lots of great food, local restaurants and organizations putting out food. And then I went out to Ditch Plains to watch a walk on water, which is surfing therapy for autistic and developmentally challenged children. And that was absolutely awesome. With the hurricane churning offshore, there were great waves. There were a number of professional and expert surfers out with the kids on boards. They'd paddle them out. Some of them looked like they were 200 yards offshore with the sets and getting very long rides. The faces on those children was just amazing. It was such a great vibe. Wow. So many people cheering on the beach. There's even a surf dog. Some of the children are, a little averse to being around strangers, and the dog is an equalizer. The dog gets on the board, the kids get on the board with the dog, and they get to ride the surfboard in the waves, and there are plenty of adults around supervising to make sure everybody's safe. At the end of the ride, the dog grabs the leash and pulls the surfboard up on the beach for another rider. It just was a really great event. This has been going on for a number of years. I was very pleased to be out and participate as a spectator.
That's incredible. I did not know about this event. I truly wish I could have been there. That sounds truly incredible. I had sort of my own experience working with the East Hampton High School Unified Basketball League in the spring. I made a little video. It's on YouTube if you'd like to watch. It's called Unified under the LTV YouTube page. And same idea. I mean, it is just incredible to work with that community within our community. And it sounds like that was a lovely event. I encourage people to go to future East Hampton Unified events as they're planning on that for those students, and also your event. I mean, that truly sounds awesome. I wish I could have been there, and I need to make sure. Is there future events, or was it just a one-time thing?
You can look it up on the web. You can look it up on the web. It's a walk on water surf therapy. And again,
I definitely
the events
want to look into that.
This is I think the first real big event since COVID. So it was another reason it was great to be out and see so many people cheering those kids and see the faces on them light up as they're getting great rides in the surf. And it's a great afternoon.
I can't surf. Power to them. I can't surf. I've been living out here my entire life. I still can't. That's truly awesome. I need to check that out, and I will. Let's get into some of the topics that you gave me. We'll start off with your topics. Let's start off with the LED streetlight upgrades that the town has been very aggressively trying to get put in. I know I've been doing the meetings here at LTV, and it seems there's been really good back and forth between the powers at B that are working on the project and the town board. So can you give us a little update on the LED streetlights?
Sure. So we, as part of state grant funding and the New York Power Authority, we've been working with them to upgrade our streetlights in town. We have about 729, I think, streetlights in town. A number of them already been converted. We converted, I think, 100 or 120 in Montauk a few years back in 2017, actually. And that project pretty much has paid for itself in energy savings already, those light upgrades. This would save us about 60% on the energy costs. It has about a 9-year payback period as proposed. So, another way to make our community more sustainable, LED lights use less electrical energy to produce the same amount of light. And the consulting firm that we've been working with in designing this program has recommended 2700 Kelvin streetlights, LED dimmable streetlights, with wattages that are higher than what we need. And this will extend the overall life of the bulbs because they do tend to degrade over time. So after a decade, 15 watt bulb may experience some loss and be down to, 9 or 8 watts. So I think they're proposing 35. We need 14. They're proposing 35 watts dimmable. And, we'll be able to compensate and adjust over time so that they still give the adequate amount of brightness. They'll be fully compliant with our dark skies regulations. And, we think it's a good project, so we're still ironing out some of the details of that. As a side issue, the Amagansett CAC has become very interested in the lighting in the historic district primarily, and upgrading the lighting there, which is really a hodgepodge of street lights and does not really provide even light, adequate light. And they'd like something more aesthetically pleasing as well. A number of the villages have historic light poles, lantern poles, and so they're interested in that. That will likely be a separate project from the NIPA project due to the additional planning and costs. The costs of that will have to be borne by a separate lighting district in Amagansett, of which there is one already. So we'll probably, be on a parallel track with that. But overall, we've saved a great deal of money. I think it's $18,000 a year we were saving in Montauk downtown by converting to LED lights. With many more lights being in the rest of town. This will be great cost savings. We'll use less energy in addition, and that's another way that we can help the environment. Less electricity translates to less fossil fuels.
I have a bit of a random follow-up to that topic. Often when I have friends or guests out in the summer, I often hear, wow, it's so dark at night. You go down some windy roads, maybe you're going to a friend's house or whatever it may be. You take a back road somewhere. If, to your point, there's 729 streetlights in East Hampton town. If a citizen felt that there was a highly transported area that wasn't maybe lit as well as they think, is there somewhere they could, or some way they could tell the town they would like a light here, or how's that process work? If someone thinks,
they would petition the town board to have a light added. We've actually had people petition the town board to have lights removed too that were deemed to be unnecessary, and we've actually had some removed over time. Mostly our street lighting's confined to areas where pedestrians and vehicles might interact at night, and I don't think there's any intention to really add street lights that may not be necessary, just to make people feel like more secure if they're from a more urban setting and they feel that
I'm with you.
Make the adjustment. We're in the country now. Let's keep it that way. We love our night skies. We love being able to see the stars and the moon at night, and you can't see the stars as well as we can in much of Long Island, and a lot of that really has to do with lighting. So unnecessary lighting, we urge residents not to put unnecessary lighting on their properties, not to light unless they're expecting a visitor or whatnot. You don't need to light your place up like a palace. Let's respect the night sky and keep things dark.
No, yeah, I agree. It's just funny because that's what everybody always says, especially when how can you drive in this? I'm like, I've been doing it since I was 15 years old, 16 years old.
That's what the headlights are for.
No, I know. It's just rather humorous to me. And I always truly have wondered, what do you do if you think a light should be there? Just like a stop sign, though. And we saw how quickly stop signs can be added in the town recently. Let's move on to the affordable housing. What specifically did you want to talk about with affordable housing? Obviously, that's a bigger branch
Well, I
topic.
just want to just bring people up to date on some additional efforts the town is making to help with the affordable housing crisis.
Please, yeah.
We talked about increasing the number of affordable accessory apartments allowed per school district. We've had a hearing on that. Well, we're talking about changing it from 20, a limit of 20 to 40 units. I want to bring forward a discussion at an upcoming work session about changing the minimum lot size for detached affordable cottages. Right now, the smallest lot that you can build one of those on is 3/4 of an acre. I'd like to have discussion about lowering that to 20,000 square feet, which is roughly a half acre. This really, I think, will make a big difference, as many of the lots in town are half acre. So it will become more accessible to those who want to, have an accessory cottage that they can either move in and let their kids take over the house, or vice versa. Had a lot of inquiries about that, and to also look at increasing the maximum size limit on the dwelling itself. Currently, that is capped at 600 square feet. I think, especially if you're talking about an affordable apartment within an existing house, that we could be a lot more lenient about the size of the portion that was dedicated towards affordable housing. If somebody has a 2,400 square foot house and they have a 1,200 square foot basement, why not allow the entire basement, provided that it has proper egress and meets building codes, be converted to affordable apartment. We need to be able to be more flexible in our zoning to accommodate people, so that there are doctors and nurses able to live in town, so we can have our fire departments fully staffed, that there are volunteers around for that, teachers, all the support staff, municipal workers. They were challenged in hiring, attracting new workers due to the housing shortage and the cost of housing here. And that's just made commute times worse. I mean, we've talked about this before. So, we need to continue looking at every possible way to address this. We'll also be having some discussions in the future about, work housing, dormitory housing, if appropriate, on a certain size property, for businesses, seasonal housing. All of these things have to be looked at and discussed, so that we can address this issue. And again, we have the referendum on the 0.5% transfer tax, which is paid by purchasers of real estate, much like the CPF fund operates. That is up for a vote in November. Hoping that the community will become fully informed about that. And we think this will be a great tool, having a revolving source of funding to help subsidize housing for moderate and lower income. We're not talking about homeless people only. We're talking about people of moderate incomes. Again, when the hospital's having trouble attracting doctors and nurses and radiologists and whatnot, this is not just a low-income issue. This is something we all need to be very aware of and work towards solving, because that really is the fabric of our community that we're talking about.
Yeah, no, and I applaud all the town's hard work. As you know, I have a foot, I would say, in the affordable housing world out here. A lot of people tend to complain and not know what they're talking about necessarily. It's difficult. It's harder than people think. There's a lot that goes into putting up one building, nevertheless a lot. These projects are very difficult, especially out here with natural water flow and different things that we have to pay attention to. And we'll get a little bit more into that with CARP, and even that, though, that's part of it. We have to think about a lot of things at once out here. And but let's, time's ticking. Let's move on to the next topic. Tomorrow in the meeting, I believe, amending Chapter 225 taxation, amend income limits for exemptions for senior citizens and persons with disabilities. Can you just give a brief overview of this?
Yes, under state law, there's the ability to for us to now change the income limits for exemptions for seniors and persons with disabilities, and we are going to have that discussion tomorrow at the work session. Essentially, the first it's a graduated category. So if a person makes more than $3,000 but less than $50,000, then they would have, and they're a senior or a disabled person, they would qualify for 50% exemption on their property tax, and it's graduated from there. At the far end of the scale, it's 57,000 to 58,400 would receive 5%. So this is
nice. Yeah.
This is really targeted at people on fixed incomes and disabled folks who make below a certain threshold, and they could receive tax exemptions from 5 to 50% of their property taxes. So we think this is an important topic to discuss and to look forward to amending that. So we'll have a discussion of that tomorrow.
Seems extremely fair to me.
So that's the only topic on for tomorrow's agenda. We have a rather light agenda tomorrow. That will likely change the following week, but that's where we are right now.
Hey, it's all good when a meeting could not be as long as all the others. The ball fields at Stephen Hand's Path, I got a little excited, I'm not going to lie, when you mentioned it, when you put this in the email today. I grew up playing at those fields religiously, whether it was the fall, the summer, camps, this, that. I learned a lot on those fields, whether it was soccer or whatever we were doing up there. What's the newest with the ball fields at Stephen Hand's Path?
So we're getting close to a groundbreaking ceremony, which is exciting. We haven't actually set the date. We haven't exactly set the date yet, but it will be, I think, within the next 4 weeks, and we'll announce that as soon as we finalize that. But we're excited about that. It's important for us to get started and try and get those fields installed and ready to play on by next season. The hospital is also going to be getting ready to start working on the new emergency satellite room, here at Pantago, which is long waited, like I think 8 years in the works now. So that's about to get started as well. So that's very exciting, and we look forward to getting the project underway and completed, hopefully in time for Little League season next summer.
Yeah, everybody, say what you want about youth athletics. Even if your kid's not going to go pro, which is pretty much every single one of us out here, when you look at from a number standpoint, sports really does teach good lessons, whether it's patience or learning defeat. I mean, everyone fails in life. So I've always really appreciated all the different, whether it's volunteers or parents and everyone who's been a part of the youth athletic community out here, whether it's going to play basketball all the way up SYS or travel teams. It's a good thing for kids, and it definitely was good for me. So I really do appreciate these ball fields being put in, and that's just me on a personal note. Let's move on.
Yeah,
as we have
it's
a few more
a
minutes.
great experience
Sorry,
for kids. Oh, go ahead, Matt. I was just going to say,
please,
it's a great experience for kids and parents alike, and coaches. I coached Little League and girls softball when my kids were younger, and I wouldn't trade those memories for anything. I think, as you said, it's a great opportunity for socialization of young people and to learn some values of hard work, determination, and have a common goal, work as a team with others. those are all important things for all of us to learn. And
I also made a lot
it's in
of
a
good
great
friends from other areas I went to Amagansett, so you get to meet other kids as well, and I think that's something that is really good out here, being able to meet other kids and socialize and interact with the other towns, even though we're not that far apart.
Absolutely.
I did want to touch on the Springs wireless tower that has been in the news recently, I suppose. And really, I just would like to ask, what has been, in your opinion, the biggest challenge with getting better cell coverage in Springs?
Oh, I think it's being able to find a suitable site. There are two things going on. You have the most populated hamlet in town, so there's plenty of houses and plenty of demand for the service, but that means there's also very few sites, and as we've seen with multiple proposed locations, many of those sites are opposed by those living near them. So trying to find a large vacant parcel where houses are not in the fall zone of the tower, where there's not it's not a historic district, or it's not aesthetically imposing upon the area, is very, very difficult. If you've been following the different locations that we've looked at, the other thing is it has to also provide coverage for the affected area as well. So,
Exactly.
We're very enthusiastic about the Camp Blue Bay site. There will be a planning board discussion about that site on, today's Tuesday, on the 14th. So that's coming up. I asked residents of Springs to tune in and pay attention and to support, those applications when they come before the planning board. To show your support for applications is really important. We did a townwide survey, found that 91% of people felt that coverage was more important than aesthetics. I guess that might change somewhat depending on where the tower's proposed, how many of those same people would be for it if it was in their backyard, if you will. But, the Camp Blue Bay site is over 170 acres. None of the houses nearby are within the fall zone, doesn't require any variances. We think this is a good location. It will provide coverage for both emergency communications as well as cellular communications over vast areas in Springs that really have no coverage now. We also need it to improve capacity for personal wireless services. There are a couple other sites in Springs that we are also looking at that have not been publicly proposed yet. We're doing a little more homework on those, and that could round out the coverage gaps and solve that. In addition, we've been looking at the wireless code. The planning board reviews applications. Currently, they review just about every application, from swapping out antennas to new macro sites, new towers. And we're streamlining the system. We proposed changing up the tiering system, whereas the first two tiers of applications are pretty much administrative and don't require review by the planning board. The one exception is a new tower, a new macro site. But for instance, concealed antennas within existing structures, that would be strictly administrative and could be completed in 30 days or less. So, we're looking to adopt those new regulations. We've just held a public hearing on that. So we're looking to adopt those changes. We're also reviewing the master plan for the town. Our wireless code has not been changed since 2002. So it's antiquated in many respects. It does not reflect the existing rules and regulations that the FCC has. So we need to make sure that our code is in alignment with what the FCC requirements are. So we're doing that as well. The comprehensive look at the systems town-wide. The town does not provide wireless services. That's private sector. That's, your major carriers provide that service. They're the ones that propose towers most often. But we're looking at locations where we can fix those coverage gaps townwide. It's not just in Springs. There are some gaps in Northwest and out towards Napeague, et cetera. And there's a number of, this technology has changed so much since 2002, and it continues to change with 5G and small cell wireless. They're putting small little antennas on telephone poles, and they don't have the distance coverage, but they also don't cost as much. So you could put multiple antennas all over an area and solve some of the problems that way as well.
Is that an option
we're acutely.
Is that an option that the town's considering?
Well, again, we don't provide the service. It's up to the providers to come up with the solutions. We're simply making it, like for instance, that would be an administrative process to have those antennas put up. I mean, that's a matter of days to get that changed. But, we can help maybe incentivize and create opportunities, but we're not the ones that actually provide the service. And, people are demanding better service. We can do what we can do. Ultimately, a lot of it falls on the carriers to provide that service as well. So we're looking at ways to make it more efficient for applications, to identify sites that are, acceptable for towers and communications upgrades. So this is
awesome.
We understand how much a part of everybody's daily life cell phones have become. I mean, if you think back to 2002, there were some cell phones, but there weren't any smartphones at that point. It was literally just phone communications. People are living their lives on their phones. They're working on their phones. They're doing research on their phones. They're streaming entertainment on their phones.
Yeah.
They're contacting people, texting. They're on social media. People have, don't go probably more than 10 minutes a day without looking at their phones now. So we understand how important that is to the public, and we're going to continue working hard to try and solve those coverage gaps where they occur.
Well, thank you. We have run out of time here. We're coming up to that point. I did want to mention that this weekend, even though it seems early, and it is early, it is the East Hampton High School homecoming this weekend. It's the first one under the new athletic director, and they're very excited. I did the school board meeting last week here for LTV. I produced it, and they're very excited. They're going to have the bonfire. They're going to have a football game. They're going to have athletic events all weekend long. So please, if you have time and you're not doing anything this weekend, bring your kids. Go check out the lovely East Hampton High School and the community, and really the first legitimate homecoming in a post-COVID world. It's going to be a lot of fun. I strongly suggest if you can make it, come up for a little bit and go support our high school students.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be looking forward to that. And that starts on Saturday. I think it's from 1 to 7 on Saturday. Is that right?
Yeah, all day.
Look for the sign. Look for the signs pretty much all day on Saturday, and they'll have events all weekend. Great opportunity
it's always
to get
a fun
back
time.
together, see people you haven't seen since COVID.
That too. For Peter Van Scoyoc, I'm Matt Lownes here at LTV. Thank you so much for watching Ask the Supervisor. Have a good night.
Thanks, Matt. Stay safe and be well, everybody.